raising awareness through every track. All-Star PD Sportscast on the rise, shouting loud, reaching the skies. Can't stop, won't stop, our game is strong, fighting Parkinson's all day long. Tim's charm shines bright.
Hey, sports fans, it's such an honor to be back with you and see my beautiful, incredible buddy here. We're going to have so much fun, and it's a new year. I mean, this is an incredible way to kick it off. I kind of say it's season 2, but welcome to the All-Star PD Sportscast with your host. I'm Sharon son George, and this is my brother here in the fight advocacy, Tim. You can find him at MYPDPARTY all over the world, all over social media, where we discuss the world of sports, slowing the progression of PD, and really always open to any of your suggestions, topics, and guests. So I just want to welcome everyone with us listening. I want to really welcome Tim for a new season. I mean, I'm so excited, Tim. I mean, I'm freezing right now. I'm in South Florida, but I cranked the air conditioning up just so we can be in a hockey arena today, and we're going to really have some fun talking about and a sport really that's not just one of the most loved in the world, but one that isn't really talked about much when you're talking about Parkinson's, and I think that's something we need to change today.
I agree. Welcome. Happy holidays. Happy New Year to everybody, because we haven't done one of these since last year. So I'm so excited. I'm so ramped up. It looks really cold where you are. World's most famous arena. My advocating brother from another mother. I'm so excited to be back with you again. Listen, this is a topic that it's kind of near and dear to my heart. I'm really looking forward to this. I think there are some unique ways that we could introduce the world of hockey and Parkinson's and kind of tie them together. And I think we got a lot to go off of here today. I've been very excited for today's show.
I appreciate it. I got my warmer hat that'll come out a little later. It's odd because, as you know, I'm a little biased. My favorite sport will always be basketball, but I grew up as a child, we'll get to a little later, literally sitting on the stands or like front row or even almost at the box for the New York Islanders when they won all the Stanley Cups.
Wow.
My father, Dr. Paul Ackerman, who unfortunately is not doing well today, had a kidney removed, so we sent our love to him. Love him to come on the show someday. But he was the team doctor, the orthopedic surgeon. He's done surgeries on Mike Bossy, Bobby Nystrom, all the greats. And ironically, when I was a kid later on, we went to a few card shows in New York, and we met them and got their autographs. And I remember him saying to Mr. Bossy, I fixed your nose, and he remembered him. So, and then as a high school went on, he worked for the Devils, and I got to go backstage in the locker room, and the whole class, I was like the man for that day. The whole entire class came with us, and the whole team signed autograph sticks. I just wish I still had those things.
Yeah. Well, listen, I'm a diehard Rangers fan, so unfortunately, you're talking about teams that are not near and dear to my heart, but I can certainly appreciate it.
Well, the good thing is I love them all, and I'm not a big fan lately. I try to watch. It's just, basketball to me is in my heart. But I think, again, it's very important to really hit on every topic. And obviously, hockey might be a little bit tougher for everyone out there in the Parkinson's community to play due to the high speed, danger, and I can't even ice skate. But the fact is, it's another sport that we want to really make people aware that can slow the progression of Parkinson's.
Absolutely. And, it's funny, when you talk about hockey, there's always the big four: baseball, basketball, we talk about hockey and football. And I think that hockey is probably the lowest on the rung there, only because, listen, I mean, money talks, and a lot of these other sports bring in a lot of money and a lot of sponsors. And I feel like hockey players don't get their due as far as how tough they are, as far as how nice they are. And I think that's mainly the reason, just because it's not as popular as a sport as it should be. But I mean, you talk about these other sports, like I know you love basketball, so do I. But you get these high-priced basketball players and baseball players, and they say, "Oh, I need a maintenance day, a rest day, because I'm tired." Hockey players,
I think it's workload, right?
Load management, right?
Yeah, you got it.
If you get these hockey players, they take a puck to the face, they go and get 30 stitches, and 5 minutes later, they're back on the ice. They are the toughest guys you'll ever find in your life.
And they also really do get back. I didn't even know, but I'm in the South Florida area, and I just heard a rumor that the legend Wayne Gretzky, who I didn't know even lives here, is building one of the largest complex in U.S. history, donating it for the sport just to bring back for the community. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on too.
Absolutely.
I wanted to start the show off, and first, before we really get going, as everyone knows, I love sharing things because that's what this show is about. We're going to also try to include these links from now on in our show So if you go to YouTube and watch the show, you'll actually be able to grab the links now, any of them that we use in the show or that Tim wants to add. So you'll have a whole different world of references and places you can also go to keep researching. First, we wanted to start that now I have to officially say, and we want to announce that My PD Party and Together for Sharon have already a family, but now we've added All-Star PD Sportscast to togetherforsharon.com. Again, completely free. We don't want anything but to share this awareness, so please share it too if you're out there listening. But the coolest thing to me is you can scroll down and grab and see any of the episodes we've already kind of covered. We've hit on some big topics like basketball, started the show with football, physical therapist, beautiful young lady that is really means a lot to Tim in his life and to me. And then we hit on football, baseball, and today obviously we're covering hockey. But I just imagine, because this is going to go on for a long time, this show, I hope that we're going to hit every sport. I mean, I'm really excited to cover cricket. And
As long
then
as we hear crickets.
right. And then now I want to get really to the show and why we're here. Of course, I do love hanging out with my brother here, Tim, but he's going to talk a little bit about a very important topic, and that's, I believe, one of the legendary hockey players, and that's Steve Bludzik. I hope I pronounce it right. And he's going to talk a lot more about his battle and all about PD.
Steve Ludzik, Stephen Paul Ludzik, born in 1961. He's actually a Canadian hockey player that came up through the ranks. He wound up playing for the Chicago Blackhawks for a bunch of years, and then when the Buffalo Sabres were an expansion team, he played a little bit with them. Um, I want to say he had about a 10-year career, definitely known as a tough guy, goal scorer. If you look at his stats, he definitely was not shy with the penalty minutes, so he spent some time in the penalty box a little bit. And then he became a coach after his playing career. And I think it was the Tampa Bay Lightning in 99 or 2000. And basically that's where he found out he had Parkinson's. He was on the bench and he noticed that his fingers were twitching a little bit and he was losing sensation in his legs and part of his body, had a little trouble with his gait and walking. And it's funny because for somebody like me that it happened the same way. He said he went to the doctor, thinking he was going to find something like some nerve damage from hockey. I mean, he's a checking line center. And so in hockey terms, what that means is he wasn't on the top goal scoring lines. His job, so to speak, was more enforcer, hitting people, stopping other teams' best players. So listen, he did some damage to his body. There's no doubt about it. So I guess he thought there was something orthopedic going on, just like myself. And he said he was floored when he went to the doctor, and within 5 minutes, they said, "Oh no, you have Parkinson's." And there's a lots of good stuff online that you could find as far as articles and interviews with him. But again, just like we hope everybody in the public eye will do to bring awareness to this and advocate for it, he created a foundation. So, I mean, you could certainly look it up and see what he's doing. He's got a podcast, a smaller version of a podcast where he talks about it, but he put himself out there. And that's all we can hope for these people who have a public eye to do to help us advocate for this disease.
I really appreciate your background and knowledge of the sport. I do want everyone to know we did both reach out to him, so hopefully you never know in the future, because just because we cover hockey doesn't mean we won't come back to it again.
Sure.
So if anyone out there knows this incredible athlete or any hockey athletes out there, anyone who is in the professional industry, feel free to reach out to Tim or myself. Love to interview them one-on-one here or together and really just help support him. So please reach out to him directly. He has a foundation. I can also include that in the notes. You just type in his name and then foundation. I actually just reached out like Tim did. So hopefully we'll hear back soon. So stay tuned for more for that.
Sure.
I'm gonna move again. This is just a quick thing. This is where we do the little switch. I'm freezing myself. The air is too hot.
Put on that Islander hat. You're killing.
Very good. So this is when I was a young kid. Again, I mentioned my father. This is not his picture, but this is his background. And I was raised in Brooklyn, but like I mentioned earlier, it was an honor definitely to be able to grow up. Unfortunately, as a kid, I was so small, I don't remember a lot of it, but I have hockey pucks, which are upstairs. Forgot to bring one, but and it's hard when you put on Zoom anyway to show
Yeah.
things, but it's actually used, the game used hockey puck
Wow.
from one of the Stanley Cup games. So that
So,
was, yeah.
and I will say too, I know we're focusing on a couple of different key people that have brought this to light, but there are a couple of other names out there that have hockey NHL the famous coach Al Arbor, as long as we're speaking about the Islanders, was diagnosed with Parkinson's years ago. Recently, one of the more popular coaches and probably the most popular sports analyst on ESPN and NHL, Barry Melrose. He was recently diagnosed. I reached out for him, but it's somewhat new to him. So, we're going to give him his space before we really hound him to try and get him on the show. But there's also a current player named Kyle Connor, very good up and coming player. He does not have Parkinson's, but I believe it was his grandfather who was diagnosed, and he does a lot to advocate for it. I don't think he has anything charity based, but he does a lot of like Parkinson's awareness nights. And he really does whatever he can to bring that to light. So I've reached out to him as well. We're gonna see if we can get some people. Again, next go around with hockey, we'll see if we can get him back on the show for sure.
Yeah, that'd be great. So if he's listening, feel free to reach out to us, and or if you're all fans out there of the sport, we'd love to have him on. I also tried, and we're just waiting back. Hopefully, he'll get back to us. I do want to point out a little bit of the science. We're not a science-based show on purpose, because I'm not a scientist, or Tim just plays one on TV. But we did a little research, and playing contact sports, as everyone knows, like boxing or football, which we had a whole entire show on. And now here today, hockey may likely increase the risk of developing Parkinson's or Parkinsonian, so similar type involuntary movements. It doesn't mean, so there's not really 100% proof, but you need to talk about these tough topics, I think, so we can get this out there. And ironically, Tim mentioned Steve, Barry, and then Brent Peterson's another one. But so, there's a lot of research out there. There's not enough, so we need to be talking about this. But I won't read this all for you. You can see the playing contact sports for more than 8 years. A lot of these athletes don't play for that long. And 8 years is a long time. And
Sure.
NHL football, 4 years is a lifetime. But repeated head injuries from contact sports. I never understood hockey in one way, which is just the guy, like you said, who just fights. I mean, that should be more wrestling. But we're going to have a show on wrestling. That'll be fun. I might have to
Yeah.
bring Hollywood Hulk Hogan Georgia out again for that.
There you go.
But that
Like the
was
turnbuckles.
yeah. And then also, as everyone probably is aware, repetitive brain trauma can increase the likelihood of developing neurodegenerative diseases. And finally, even therapy, skating, ice skating,
Sure.
kind of didn't, we're talking about hockey, but without all the pounding, pumping, and battling in the gridiron there, the ice iron, you can also find a beautiful time with your family, not just on Christmas, Rockefeller Center, like we went, but just ice skating. It's another incredible sport. Hockey, stick handling, all different types of therapy that, to be honest, unless we had this show, I would never think of it or even talk about. So this is why I'm so grateful for you, Tim, our friendship, but also for the show and really for everyone out there listening and supporting. We don't care about likes and things, but we do hope and pray that the show gets out nationally someday, because I think there's nothing like it. And it's something that is really needed. If there's over 1 million people in the U.S. and 10 million around the world, this resonates with everyone. It's not just for the U.S. or Canada or for Brazil. It's actually could really reach the world. So we might have to have different languages. Someone will do our voices, but
I'll work on it for next time for
yeah,
sure.
it's really important.
Okay, so the one thing I will say, and you just really hit on it, when I thought about what we were doing today with hockey, I agree, it's a dangerous sport, and it's tough to try to commingle that, so to speak, with Parkinson's. But you're right, anything that gets the blood pumping, rollerblading, ice skating, again, as long as it's okay by your doctor, balance wise, you feel okay doing it. But anybody who watches this podcast with us, or anybody who follows me on the My PD Party, is going to get sick of hearing this, but I am very, very big on the cognitive aspect of Parkinson's. The same way, if you pulled your hamstring, you'd have to have therapy on that. You wouldn't want to do anything to hurt it. Listen, people forget this is a neurological, this is a brain disease. Like Michael J. Fox said, it's the gift that keeps on taking. So I am very big on mental health. I'm very big on keeping your thoughts right. If you follow me on the My PD Party, you'll see that I just recently got into Stoic philosophies as far as strengthening your brain and getting your mind right, because I feel it's the most important thing. There's always going to be therapies, physical therapies. There's always going to be medications. But the only thing in life that we truly have the ability to control is up here. And you have to do what you can for that. And that's why